This morning's reading is from Job, chapter 37, verses 1 through 5. At this also my heart trembles and leaps out of its place. Listen to the thunder of God's voice and the rumbling that comes from God's mouth. Under the whole heaven God lets it loose, and God's lightning to the corners of the earth.
Good morning. How are y'all this morning? Good. I'm happy to be with y'all. My name is Tivvi Pare. I'm the executive director of Horton Center, the New Hampshire Conference's outdoor ministry site on top of Pine Mountain in Gorham, New Hampshire. Has anyone ever been to Horton Center before? Oh, look at those hands. How many of you think you might want to go there? My goal is that by the end of today, every hand goes up if I were to ask that question again. No matter the words I use to describe the beauty of Horton Center, I won't be able to do it justice. So in a little while, we'll share a video, and I hope that you will see the splendor and feel inspired. People of all ages come to Horton Center for a week at a time to experience beloved Christian community where they are loved for their authentic selves, where they are encouraged to try new things in safe ways, and where they are welcome to explore their beliefs as they connect with themselves, with friends new and old, and with the beauty of God's creation. A week at camp is full of thunderstruck moments, both literally sometimes and spiritually. Horton Center is my favorite place on earth to be during a thunderstorm. Somehow it can be frightening and fascinating, beautiful and breathtaking. From the safety of a rocking chair on Madison porch, I love to watch the lightning as it lights up the sky with brilliance, revealing the towering mountains covered in trees in the distance, visible only for that split second of brightness before plunging back into darkness. And after the dazzling light, I love to wait in anticipation. And I count. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. And then it comes, the thunder. Sometimes it comes slowly. I can imagine it traveling through the valley to get to us, bouncing around the peaks and cliffs, traveling over the river and up to our ears, starting off as a low rumble in the distance before it comes over us as a roar. And sometimes there is no warning. You're not halfway through 1 Mississippi before the clap of thunder makes your heart jump and your hands leap to cover your ears. It can be frightening, it can be fascinating, and it's always fabulous and leaves me wanting more. I think time spent at camp can be just like a thunderstorm from Madison porch. It can be frightening in some ways, like when you sleep away from home for the first time, or when you try rock climbing and the cliffs look steep and intimidating. Time at camp can be fascinating. You learn new things. Sure, you learn new skills like archery or team building skills on the low ropes course. You can learn new things about you. Who are you when the rest of your world gets stripped away? No one from your regular life to keep you the same. Maybe you learn to express yourself in a new way. You learn that you have an opinion worth hearing and that you have the capacity to be a servant leader. And you learn new things about your faith, too. You're welcome to explore and question and disagree and realize something you hadn't before about what makes you feel at peace or closer to God. These things you learn can happen slowly throughout the week, like the slow roll of thunder coming through the valley. These things sometimes happen in an instant, like a clap of thunder that, as Job puts it, makes my heart tremble and leap out of its place. I'd like to share one of my thunderstruck moments from this past summer at Horton Center with you. It was Friday night, and it was time for our end-of-week talent show at Horton Center. We decided to have our talent show in the Spirit Lodge, our big dining hall. So everyone pulled a chair into a large circle, and we sat and listened to each camper's performances. You never know what you're going to get from a Horton Center talent show. Sometimes serious, and sometimes absurdly silly. Inevitably, someone winds up with a face full of shaving cream. I don't know why. It just happens. Molly was a first-time camper. She's going into 4th grade in the fall. And Molly was sleeping away from home for the first time ever. She started out the week as a nervous and shy camper, but by the end of the week, now it's Friday, she's seen laughing. She led worship on Chapel Rock with her faith discovery group, and now she's ready to rock a solo at the talent show. Pretty courageous, right? Entering 4th grade? Molly stands up and with some shaking hands places her music on the stand in front of her. She brings her saxophone to her mouth, and she takes a deep breath, and she plays. And out comes nothing that could be described other than something between a honk and a squeak. A squonk, if you may. Mortified, though, Molly took her music and darted back to her seat. And her shoulders started to shake with embarrassed sobs. And no matter the calming words or the pats on the back from the friends on either side of her, she didn't seem like she was being consoled much. This could be a Thunderstruck moment, in a good way or in a bad way. I took Molly outside with another staff member for a little walk. We got away from the Spirit Lodge while the talent show kept going, and we headed over to the compound where there was no one except some light rain falling. What? Rain this summer? Never, right? It didn't rain. Every day. We warmed up. Molly and I talked about playing woodwind instruments. I grew up playing the flute. I worked in a high school marching band. I love instruments. We warmed up, we played some scales. She got her reed nice and wet. And probably before Molly was ready, we headed back to the Spirit Lodge to rejoin the talent show. When we walked in, I gave a thumbs up to the MC, and the MC told Molly it was her turn to perform. Molly took one look at that crowded room of people and asked if she could go back outside to play. Without hesitation, everyone in that room stood up and headed outside. The rain fell harder, but it didn't matter. An informal circle around Molly formed. I held her music, someone jumped in with a flashlight, and Molly played her song, beginning to end. And I have no clue what song she played. It didn't really sound like much because it's a 4th grade band piece, but it was beautiful, and it was perfect. And when Molly finished, there was uproarious applause. And I thought, that is a Thunderstruck moment. For me, getting to see the community that we build and the love that was in that space, and for Molly too. Don't y'all want to go to a place where everyone will go outside to hear your second try? I don't know if Molly had a Thunderstruck moment that night. I'd like to think she did. But I know for sure that I experienced God in that moment. My heart trembled. I love that word from Job. And it trembles every time I tell her story. My heart leapt out of its place that night, and I'm not sure it's ever going to fit back where it did before. God was there in that moment, standing out in the rain with us, as the notes of Molly's saxophone filled the mountain air. I hope that you feel a bit of that gift of being thunderstruck today, as we share in fun and meaningful camp traditions, whether it's through song, a prayer, a story, or just a warm smile from a friend, new or old. As we sing our next song, I invite you to imagine how we can share our gift of being thunderstruck, how we might spread it in a way that sparks the fire that brings a community together. You are welcome at Horton Center. All are welcome at Horton Center. And if you do decide to make the journey up there, don't forget your raincoat. I heard there's a chance of thunderstorms of the very best kind in your future.